So we're going to look at this and do a little piecewise. So the reason that we know this is piecewise is because we have this graph and we're going to have this graph, but we don't want the whole thing. We just want pieces of it, as indicated by the x values they tell you, or the domain stated for each piece. So what we're going to do, the way that we're going to do this today, is we're going to do separate x, y charts for each one. And the first one I'm going to have be for this piece. So I'm actually going to write it down as well. And so I'm going to say y is equal to a 4 minus x. Okay. And what we're going to do is I have to know. So over here on the right, I typed up and I said make an XY chart for each piece and then use the x values that are given right here, these x values that are given, as an endpoint. So you could have a 2 pieces in a piecewise function. It could be more than that. So mine in particular says that I should start with x being greater than 0. So I'm going to start with a 0, and I want numbers that are more than 0. Okay. Now, if you have an inequality and it just says greater than, we're going to use an open circle. And so that's what I'm going to put here also is open. It's not a closed dot endpoint. It's an open circle endpoint because it doesn't say equal to 0. So as we do this, I'm just going to put 0 into the function and evaluate that. So I come up with these numbers here. And it could continue to go. So I want to do my points starting with my 0, 4, which is an open circle. And then we have these other points right here that we said. And we want to connect them from that point. So this is going to continue on. You can kind of see the writing in the background. That piece would continue to go as such. Okay, next I want to do this green piece, if you would. Okay, so I'm going to have another XY chart. And this time my y value is equal to negative 2x minus 2. And we're going to start again with the 0, which is again open. And it says x is less than 0. So not only is it open, it's also going to go to smaller numbers. So we're going to put these in here and evaluate that. So I get 0 minus 2, which is a negative 2. I'm going to have a negative 2 times negative 1, positive 2. Positive 2 minus 2 is a 0. Negative 2 times negative 2 is a 4. 4 minus 2 is another 2. And negative 2 times a negative 3 is a 6. And 6 minus 2 is 4. So we're going to plot these, keeping in mind that first point, 0, negative 2, not because it's an intercept, but because that was our starting point on our domain given. 0, negative 2 is a big open circle. I have negative 1, 0, negative 2, 2, negative 3, 4. And we're going to connect from our endpoint through those other points for our graph. There are other ways to do this. If you have more questions, let me know.